the big story in the news this week has been something similar happening at the Pentagon, like an attempt by people who never wanted this leader to take him down. Now, there definitely are people inside the Pentagon who hate Pete, didn't want Pete and want him gone and did from day one. But it's also very much on the outside with these lawmakers who can't stand him, these Democrats who can't stand him. And now it's devolved into them accusing him of war crimes based on inaccurate, incomplete information, which by the day gets better for the Pentagon, not for his detractors. It started last Friday when the Washington Post all but accused him of a war crime. Seth Moulton, citing this Democrat from Massachusetts, saying someone's going to jail for murder or a war crime. You mark my words, one of these people's going to jail. Okay, because they said that they bombed a ship coming to America from south of the border carrying drugs, and that 2 people were clinging to the side of the boat, having survived the first strike, and they were devastated to see this because they wanted everybody to be dead. And Pete Hegseth gave the oral order to kill the people and drop a second strike to kill them. Well, that didn't turn out to be true. Most people agreed that could potentially be a war crime, but there actually was ambiguity around it depending on the circumstances. But that's not even what happened. Pete Hegseth, now we know, did not give any second order. He only gave an initial order to take out the boat. And now we're hearing that the boat was not destroyed after the first strike. It was only disabled, and that it was in enough of good shape that these 2 survivors were on there reportedly using a radio to contact other narco drugs or boats in the water. And listen to how Martha Raddatz on ABC News yesterday.
Tonight, new information. According to a source familiar with the incident, the 2 survivors climbed back onto the boat after the initial strike. They were believed to be potentially in communication with others and salvaging some of the drugs. Because of that, it was determined they were still in the fight and valid targets. A JAG officer was also giving legal advice. So again, David, that video will be key, and Admiral Bradley will be on the Hill tomorrow.
Reported exactly that. And I mean, for ABC News to have to come out and say it, Michael, really must have hurt. And it's not just them. You've got the Wall Street Journal now reporting, citing 3 Pentagon officials, that surveillance video of the operation did not reveal 2 survivors until an hour after the initial hit, after Hegseth said he stopped monitoring the video feed altogether. And here's what Martha said. Tonight, new information. According to a source familiar with the incident, the 2 survivors climbed back onto the boat after the initial strike. They were believed to be potentially in communication with others and salvaging some of the drugs. Because of that, it was determined that they were still in the fight, which is a military term of art, and valid targets. A JAG officer, meaning Judge Advocate General, a naval law lawyer, was also giving legal advice in the moment. And ABC said the source said the pair of survivors were later killed in a second strike because they were deemed to, quote, be still in the fight because they were in comms with other vessels nearby and were gathering some of the cargo of drugs that the boat had been carrying. Brian L. Cox, who was on this show 2 days ago, Cornell law professor and 22-year service member, now retired, said, hat tip to the journalistic reference to still in the fight, which in legal terms is the opposite of hors de combat, which is the term meaning like out of the fight. It's like you've been shipwrecked, you're out of the fight, and you can't be targeted. Still in the fight is exactly the opposite, meaning totally targetable. It's a complete exoneration of Pete, his admiral, Mitch Bradley, who actually did give the order and gave the order to destroy the boat. And let me just show you the narrative that's out there that has been proven completely wrong. We'll wait for them to correct the record and apologize to the Pentagon and the military leaders they unfairly besmirched. Watch.
There is no lawyer that I'm aware of who indicates that second strike is not a war crime. These were individuals in the water who were wounded. As far as I'm concerned, there is a war crime involved here.
He's violated, he has committed war crimes.
If the facts are as have been alleged, that there was a second strike specifically to kill the survivors in the water, That's a stone cold war crime.
It's the United States of America on our behalf, on your and my behalf, killing two individuals who were unarmed. And that's just shocking.
Then this is clearly a war crime. You do not execute survivors who are no longer a threat. Everybody understands that.
Pete Hegseth has to go. He has to resign. He is a walking, talking national security embarrassment.
I think that Pete Hegseth clearly ordered the code red here. Yeah. And I also think that that would be a war crime.
I think he must resign.
Sonny Hostin, Rachel Maddow, there was Congressman Adam Smith before them. I mean, they were clear as day, Michael. They had this case solved from the moment they read the Washington Post report, which has now been contradicted by ABC, by the New York Times, and by the facts, according to anybody who actually was involved in this thing.
Clearly a war crime, they say. Clearly because of an unverified report over an oral order, not a written order, to have a follow-up strike on a legitimate military target. And wow, it just shows you how desperate the Democrats are for anything to hit the Trump administration, and specifically Pete Hegseth. They have been particularly focused on torpedoing Pete since the beginning. He was the one they most tried to boot out during his confirmation.
He's their Venezuelan drug boat. Yes. That's what they would like to see happen to him.
And in order to take him out, they are literally taking the side of the Venezuelan narco-terrorists. It's very funny because Dan Crenshaw, who is a Republican, but obviously he's not the Trumpiest of Republicans in the House. He was asked about this by liberal media, and he said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I've been in a lot of firefights, okay, and yeah, we generally try to kill them. That's the point. That's why we shoot them in the first place. Yeah. We're trying to kill them. This is ridiculous, total controversy." And to your point, what this hinged on is whether or not the people were hors de combat, were out of combat. And obviously in this case, from all the information we're getting in the follow-up, they were not. And I think really the thing that was clobbering the Democrats after this is, got to give a hat tip to Mays on X, pulled up a great clip.
Yes, he's great.
This video of Joe Biden, 1989, giving a speech, I thought it was AI generated at first, in which he defends precisely the Trump administration's policy on these narco-terrorists, including using the very phrase narco-terrorism and calling for an international strike force to stop the drugs where they originate. So this is something that everyone agreed on until about 5 minutes ago. The Democrats are in such a bad position arguing for their economic policies, their migration policies, their domestic social policies, really just about everything, even healthcare doesn't really work for them anymore, that they are now taking the side of narco-terrorists in a state that is a sworn enemy of the United States. And even that they can't do right.
It really is incredible, and how much they have attacked poor Pete Hegseth for something he didn't do at all, and also Admiral Bradley. Mm-hmm. Here's the Mays posting with Joe Biden yesterday. I'll just read a transcript of what Biden says in part. He says, "Let's go after the drug lords where they live with an international strike force. There must be no safe haven for these narco-terrorists, and they must know it." That was him finding Joe Biden back in 1989, saying exactly that in a televised message from the Democrat Party, calling on President H.W. Bush to do more to stop the flow of drugs into the country. It's crazy. A strike force to attack the drug dealers before they reach our borders. Now, when that exact thing is done, because it's done by a Trump administration and a Pete Hegseth who they can't stand and dismiss as a Fox News host, it's a war crime based on made up shit that I have no idea where it even originated. None of it has proven true.
Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious, too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips, too. Ready to give masa or Vandy a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.